Hey besties and welcome back to my shit show. Well, how are we doing today? I am on my way to bury my husband. If you're new, welcome. My name is BLACSIREN. And if you're interested in crime cases and makeup, don't forget to hit that subscribe button in the face. I watched the movie Terrifier 2 the other day, and let me tell you, this movie was so gory. I was so mad about the first one, it got me fucked up because I didn't know the clown was actually not a human being. He was actually an evil spirit, so that's why he never dies. No matter how many times that people killed him in the movie, like, he always comes back. That's why I was like, oh my god, like, this got me fucked up. And if you're into gore, you probably do because you're a sick motherfucker just like me. If you watch my videos, you're probably into, you know. But I have to warn you, this movie is not a scary movie like Insidious, Annabelle, Garage, something like that. This movie is 100% gore, which means you're gonna see a lot of blood, decapitation, like legs, hands flying all over in the movie. That's what you're gonna see, you know, so be careful. Okay, in today's video, I'm going to take you first class to Australia. We're gonna dive deep into a woman's life. The media calls her the female Hannibal Lecter, and she was also the first woman to ever be sentenced life imprisonment without a parole. So what happened? Before we talk about this case, I need to do a disclaimer because today's case is a lot. You know, it's not for the faint of heart. Okay, ready? Warning. The following content may contain explicit language, animal abuse, and graphic details on murder scenes that may be harmful or distressing to some audience. This video is only for educational and entertaining purposes and to raise awareness. Viewer discretions only. Yo, I am so scared of filming this video today because, as you can see, I have a pimple here. I'm just so worried that what if I accidentally pop this pimple by applying makeup on top of it? That would be my activity tonight. Actually, I just woke up from taking a nap. I might look funny right now, but anyway. Katherine Mary Knight. She was born on October 24th, 1955. She was born in the small town of Aberdeen in New South Wales, Hunters Valley. I think this is somewhere in Sydney and it is a very small and conservative town. So that means people talk. You know, when bad shit happens, news travel like a herpes. She was born in 1959 into a very dysfunctional family. That's the only word I can think of. And her father Jack passed away when Katherine was 4 years old. And him and her mother Barbara, they had 4 kids together. And you think that's it? Well, wishful thinking. After Jack passed away, Barbara gave birth to another 4 children. And Katherine was one of these twin daughters. So with the total number of 8 kids. Her stepfather's name is Ken, and actually I don't know if they ever got married, but about her stepfather. He was an abusive alcoholic. What the fuck? You know what I just realized? I forgot to draw my eyebrows. I always draw my eyebrows first, but today I forgot because I just woke up from a nap. You know, like the brain is not working. So, about the stepfather, let's talk about him. Ken. So, he was an abusive alcoholic and who would Barbara up to 10 times a day. I'm sorry, what the fuck is happening here? 10 times a day? A day? And Barbara, in turn, she would often share intimate detail about her sex life with the children, especially with the daughters. And she tells them how many sex did she have that night and how much she hates men and having sex with them. Well, now why would you do that, Barbara? Like, in what world is that okay, sharing your adult life with your kids? That's just fucked up. So when you grew up in such a family, you know what the fuck would happen? Well, one of your daughters turned into a sadistic killer. That's what would happen. When Katherine was young, she was sexually assaulted by many of her family members, which continued until she was 11. So growing up in such a family will result some fucked up behavior. She hated men, and she became very temperamental at a young age. So back in school, When she was in a bad mood, she would turn herself into a bully. She bullies other students, she had fights with teachers, but when not in a rage, she became that model student and often earned rewards for her good behavior. She dropped out of school at the age of 15 with no ability of read or write. Basically, she was just uneducated. But that's just so weird to me because we learn how to read or write at a very young age, and the fact that she didn't know how to read or write at the age of 15 was just baffling to me. After leaving school, she got her first job at a clothing factory. She was doing some sewing and cutting. And after a year, she quit. She decided to go get her dream job, which is becoming a butcher. You know, growing up, adults would always ask kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And some kids will say, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a teacher, I want to become an astronaut. Imagine if you asked a kid and this kid tells you, I want to become a butcher in a slaughterhouse. No, you don't. And imagine saying, my dream job is to become a butcher at the age of 16. I'm sorry, the number you have dialed is out of service right now. Please try again later. And ever since when Katherine got the job, she was very good at it. She annihilated the fuck out of it. She got promoted, and she was even given her own butcher knife set. And she placed the knives right next to her bed and said, would always be handy if I needed them. In 1973, Katherine met her coworker, David. And David was a tough cookie. You know, he was alcoholic and he always got into fights with other people. But every time when he did that, Katherine would always have his back, you know? Because Katherine was well known in that town. Like, she was physically threatened to anybody who had wronged her. So these two was like a match made in heaven. So they decided to get married in 1974. And Katherine's mother, Barbara, remember her? The one who shared the intimate details with the children? So she told David, you better watch this one, or she will fucking kill you. Stir her up the wrong way or do the wrong thing, you'll be fucked. Well, David, it's not like she didn't warn you. If that's not a red flag, I don't know what it is. Oh my god, I am obsessed with this combination. Like, what? It's sickening. And get this, Katherine, she tried to strangle David on their wedding night. And the reason being was David was too tired to have sex for the fourth time. Fourth time. They already had sex 3 times that night, and at this point, nothing is coming out of Little David right now. It's all air. But Katherine didn't care. She wanted more because growing up, Katherine was living under the influence of her mother and other people. Remember, her mother always tells her how many sex did she have that night. You know, sometimes like up to 10 times a day. And so she always compared this with other people. If her mother and her sisters can have that many sex at a time, she wanted that too. In her mind, it just seems so normal to have 10 times in a row. So remember I told you, she hates men. And she hates men to the guts. So by having sex with them, she actually takes control of the power. She's the dominant one in bed. I'm gonna be extremely careful just to make sure I don't pop this pimple. The whole marriage was filled with violence, and Katherine always got into fights with him. At one time, she even hit him with a frying pan. One night, Katherine burned all of David's clothing and shoes because without shoes, he would never run away. She did that simply because he had arrived home late from a darts competition after reaching the finals. You know, he won the competition, but now he has to spend all the money that he won from that competition to buy more clothes. So, long story short, that bitch is insane. That bitch is so insane that it needs to be put in an ice tub in an asylum. Well, you might have asked, why didn't he just leave her? I guess when people are in a very toxic, abusive relationship, they always believe there's still something good left in their partner, and they would change one day. But in reality, they won't. People who are abusive in a relationship, they will never change. But here's the thing, it's easy for us to say it because we're not in that relationship. We're not the victims, we're just bystanders. So, That's my guess. Shut the fuck up. That looks so cute. Oh my god. I feel like I can conquer this motherfucking world with this eye look. Okay, now I am gonna do my eyeliners. I don't think I can talk and do my eyeliners at the same time. So that night definitely scared the fuck out of him, and he decided to leave Katherine. So he finally realized how dangerous this woman is, and he left before collapsing in front of the neighbor's front door, and then he got taken to the hospital and got treated for severe fractured skull. So the police wanted to charge Katherine, and honestly, I don't know what the fuck she did and what kind of voodoo shit that he had pulled. So she talked him into dropping out the charges, and they got back together. Yeah. I had wonton for lunch, and by the way, what are you eating right now? Let me know in the comments, because usually when people watch my crime videos, they're always eating. I look like grapes. Like glistening grapes. In May 1976, shortly after the first child, David left Katherine. He moved to Queensland with another woman. Maybe he finally had enough, so he just left. And when this happened, bitch, Katherine was fucking livid. She was pissed. And the next day, she was seen on the street throwing a baby stroller. She was like, you know, it almost like the baby is gonna fly out of the fucking stroller. Then she was admitted to a hospital and got diagnosed with postpartum depression, and she spent weeks there recovering. So after being released, she decided to kill her daughter again. Yeah, this bitch. Fucking animal. She placed her daughter on a railway track and she just fucking left. Thank God they were pedestrians and they saved her. The train was only a couple minutes away. And obviously she got arrested again, and get this. She checked herself out the following day. Australia, what the fuck? Why are your laws so lenient? And I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a huge problem in your system. There's a lady literally tried to kill her daughter, and you let her walk away free. I am going to put on some lashes. I'll be right back. A few days later, Katherine slashed the face of a woman and demanded her to take her to Queensland to find her husband. The woman escaped after they stopped at a service station, but by the time that police arrived, she took a hostage of a young boy and she was holding a knife against his neck. She was disarmed when the police attacked her with brooms. Yes, you heard me right, brooms. I don't know where the fuck was batons and guns, but they used brooms. I don't know, like the police officers in Australia, are you guys okay? Then she was admitted to a psychiatric hospital, and she was released on August 9th, 1976 into the care of her mother-in-law and David. At this point, I have so many questions when it comes to Australia, like what's up with David? What is wrong with the Australian law system? I have so many questions. On March 6, 1980, they had another daughter, and 4 years later, Katherine decided to leave David. Yeah, this time Katherine decided to leave David. Then she got her old job back, which is becoming a butcher, and she's now a butcher again. So after David, she had been with other men as well, but the relationships were always violent. So there was another guy. When Katherine was dating him, she kept pushing him to marry Katherine, but he was like, I don't want to get married. I like the way it is right now. Why do we have to get married? Then Katherine was fucking mad, you know? So they had a puppy at the time. She slit the throat of the puppy in front of him just to show him what she's capable of. She was like, don't fucking mess with me, I'm gonna fucking kill your dog. And let's jump right into her next man, which is the man that she killed. His name is John. He was the father of 3 children and lived with 2. The other kid was living with his ex-wife. He was a good guy, you know, friendly, loved his kids. Everyone spoke very highly of him. So that's why people were so confused when they found out he was with Katherine, because, you know, like I said, the town was small, everybody like knew everything. So when they found out that he was with Katherine, they were like, really, dude? Of all the women, you chose her? What the fuck is wrong with you? In 1988, Katherine asked John to marry her, but he kindly rejected. He was like, I've been in a marriage before. and I failed. Right now, I just wanted to have a relationship. I don't want a marriage. And obviously, that infuriated Catherine. Catherine was like, I'm not gonna let that shit fly. John was working at a local mine at the time, and Catherine, she videotaped the items that he allegedly stole from where he worked and sent the tape to the boss. So technically, he wasn't stealing, he just took the expired first aid kit, like medical items home because they're gonna discard it anyway. He might as well just like take them. So Catherine knew that and she videotaped all of the items and sent it to the boss. And the boss didn't want to fire him, but you know, according to the company policy, he was fired after 17 years of working in that company. 17 years. And this bitch cost him to get fired from a job, and it's not even a fucking internship. It's a job that he worked for 17 years. Would you be mad? Let me know in the comments. And obviously John kicked her out. But they got back together after several months. I don't know what it is with this woman, like why are men always going back to her? I don't know. She just seems like she just knows how to manipulate people. She just have that power. She's very persuasive, I guess. So this whole thing been going on for a long time, and now John's friends started to isolate him because like I said before, they just didn't understand why would a good guy like John would date a woman like Catherine. It just doesn't make any sense. You know, shit doesn't add up. Shit doesn't. In February 2000, after a huge fight, Catherine stabbed John's chest. And this time he finally fed up. He kicked her out. On February 29th, ooh, leap year, he went to the court and got a restraining order against her. That afternoon, John told his coworkers that if he did not come to work the next day, it would be because Catherine had killed him. And his coworkers told him not to go home. They were like, bitch, are you fucking crazy? Why are you going home? If you knew she's gonna fucking kill you. Then John was like, if he didn't go home, she's gonna do something bad to the kid, so that's why he has to go home. I feel like at this point, what can you even do? You can't even call the police because nothing really happened yet. You know, and if that bitch is crazy, that bitch is gonna do something bad to your kids. That night, he came back after having beers with the neighbors. He found out that the kids were not home. That's because Catherine had already sent the kids away for a sleepover at a friend's house. I'm sorry, she has friends. What? Catherine showed up later that night. She was wearing a new set of black lingerie. You know, she wanted to feel sexy and shit. She arrived at his house, spent a couple minutes watching TVs, and headed straight to the bedroom. She then woke John up, wanting to have sex with him, but John was too tired, so he fell asleep. Then, Catherine pulled out a knife, stabbed him in the chest, again and again and again. She totally stabbed him 37 times. Blood was everywhere, and the blood trace, the blood evidence actually showed John was trying to fight back. He stood up and he was trying to run away, and his hand was on the switch, was on the doorknob, and it was all the way up to the door. From the blood evidence, you can actually tell John was getting weaker and weaker, but he tried his best running to the door. Then he just got dragged back to the room by Catherine. So there was like a trace of blood that you can see. So John really tried his best, but Catherine hunted him down. The next morning when John didn't show up at work, obviously the co-workers were worried about him. They sent a worker over to see what was going on, and both the neighbor and the worker saw his car was still parked outside, which means he was still home. So they tried to knock on his bedroom window from the outside. They saw blood on the front door, so they called the police. When the police arrived, they broke down the door and went inside. Before they went inside, they smelled food. And according to the police officers, they said, it smelled good. It smelled like your mother's cooking, your mother's favorite beef stew. So when the police enter the room, there's something like a curtain blocking their view. They were like, okay, there's a curtain, you know, let's remove that. So a police officer tried to move the curtain out of the way, But what's so strange about the curtain is it was wet. And so he kind of like pushed it away with his arm, and so the arm was covered with blood. Then they realized, shit, it was not a curtain. It was human skin. It was John. John's skin was hanging on a meat hook. Katherine skinned him, and according to the police, they said it was so clean. She did it with one try. Even John's hair was still attached to the skin. They also found John's torso left on the floor without the head, only the torso. Hands and legs were decapitated. The police walked into the kitchen and found out that she cooked parts of John's flesh, and John's head was on the stove in a pot cooking. And there's also side dish prepared. She put baked potatoes, pumpkins, zucchinis, cabbage, yellow squash, and gravy in 2 sittings at the dinner table. And each had the name of one of the John's children on it. So Katherine was trying to feed their dad to them. I honestly don't know how she gonna manage to do that. Like, wouldn't they notice? The whole place is like a shit show. There's blood everywhere. How are you managed to pull that off? Katherine was found passed out on the bed by taking a large number of pills, and she later claimed that she didn't remember anything. Of course you don't, girl. She was arrested on March 2nd, 2001 on the charge of murdering John, to which she entered a plea of not guilty. She's like, I didn't do it. Her legal team had planned to defend her by claiming amnesia and disassociation. Really? Amnesia? A claim supported by most psychiatrists, although they did not consider her sane, and 2 psychiatrists confirmed that Katherine Knight suffered from borderline personality disorder. On November 8th, she got sentenced life imprisonment without parole, and the judge ordered on her paper and marked never to be released. And this is the first time this had been imposed on a woman in Australian history. In June 2006, Katherine appealed for her life sentence, claimed that the life sentence without a parole is too severe. She doesn't deserve that. Obviously, she got denied. And the judge said, this was an appalling crime, almost beyond contemplation in a civilized society. As in 2022, Katherine is now 67 years old. She is still in prison. She's actually very famous in prison, but she was not allowed to use the kitchen ever again. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of Katherine Mary Knight, the female Hannibal Lecter. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe. And remember, be safe, be vigilant, and take care.